Hello everyone, this is Sidekick Jason here with a very special guest, Mike O'Donnell, the original co-composer for the Thomas and Friends television series.
Hi all you Thomas fans out there in the fandom.
Mike has recently released a new CD featuring 10 recreated Thomas themes, and to help promote the CD launch, Mike has kindly agreed to sit down with me here and answer questions submitted by Thomas fans. We had over 600 comments submitted, so there's quite a list of questions to go through. We will try to get through a good amount of them today, but if your question wasn't answered, don't fret. We hope to continue the Q&A with each new CD release. Before we get started, I'd like to just give a call out to the link below in the description to purchase the Engine's Theme CD from Mike's website. Each CD comes with a hand-signed note from Mike and a special pull-out cover. If you haven't already purchased a copy, please pause the video and go buy one before you forget. International shipping is available. Mike, are you ready for the questions?
I certainly am, Jason, but I just wanted to say something beforehand. I just wanted to thank all the people out there in the Thomas fandom for keeping the classic series material alive and kicking. Because without you, it would all not exist. And also to say how talented you guys are, you know, with all the filmmaking and the models and the music, you know, you're all doing a terrific job. So this is just me waffling on as usual. But anyway, let's get on with the question.
Well, thank you, Mike. I speak for the fandom here, but I can definitely say we are grateful to have you communicating and working with us, and it's been a true pleasure to have you interact with the fandom. So we're happy to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm pleased to be here.
All right, well, let's get started with the questions. These first couple of questions relate particularly to the new CD release. Tell us a little bit about what made you get back into writing music again.
Well, actually, Jason, I've never stopped writing music, but I was concentrating more on other projects. But then when I started to listen to the Thomas stuff again, I thought, this is really too good to miss out on. I've had to re-record them for obvious reasons, but I've really enjoyed doing it. So it's been good fun, and I shall carry on.
Well, awesome. Next question. Why not just release the original themes?
Good question. The original themes recordings it's a bit technical, but they're all owned by Mattel. Mattel own the rights to those particular recordings. That's why I've had to re-record them all, because I wouldn't be allowed to just put out the old stuff, because I would be sued, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, so I just that's the only reason. Otherwise, and anyway, I've quite enjoyed doing it. It's been a bit of fun, really, more than anything else.
All right. So now tell us, how did you select which themes? So there's 10 themes on the CD. How did you select which characters you wanted to have in the CD, or which particular themes? Tell us a little bit about that process.
I'd already put a lot of these themes up on my YouTube channel, and but I decided to release this CD because I thought it would be nice for the fans to have something physical rather than just downloadable. So I got the tracks up, Thomas stuff and things like that, and Stepney, and added bits to them, did a remix on them, of course, and it kind of snowballed from there. And I thought, I'll do another one, and do another one, do another one. All of a sudden, I had a CD.
That's amazing. So, in total, how long would you say it's taken you to create this first CD?
Difficult. Probably a couple of months, really, from start to actually releasing it. Yeah, a couple of months.
Okay. And then, what is your personal favorite track on the CD, if you had to pick one?
I can only pick one? Okay. I really like the way Thomas came out. I thought it was just such a nice feel of it, and I like the extra little bits and things. So I would say it had to be Thomas.
That's awesome. Which themes do you plan on possibly recreating for future CDs?
I haven't made a decision on those yet, because what happens with an album is you listen to the whole thing finished, and then you think, really, that doesn't fit there very well, so scrap that one and do a different one. So I'm not going to say which ones I'm doing yet because the decision hasn't been taken.
Well, we'll all sit in anticipation then. It's exciting to know that you're going to do more.
Yeah.
Do you plan on possibly doing CDs maybe based on individual seasons rather than kind of a conglomerate of the entire series?
No, I don't think so. I think it's best to kind of mix and match, really. I don't want to do it all series 1 and then all series 2 because, you know, themes. I like the way I've got this one because this is obviously Thomas series 1, Stepney was series. What was Stepney? Series 4?
Series 4. Yep.
Well, that was a good guess, wasn't it? So it's nice to mix them all up, you know, and so that's the way I prefer to do it.
Okay. Now, can you explain a little bit about why Winter Delivery was not used in the actual season 4 series?
Sure. Sometimes we would work, Junior and I would work individually from home, you know, come up with a little idea, work it out a little way, and then present it to each other if we needed to do, you know, if we're thinking, listen, we need a piece of music for this bit here or a theme for this, you know. So that's the way it worked, but Winter Delivery was never required, so it just stayed in the drawer until this CD, and then I thought, well, I'll do that now because it's a nice little piece of music, I think.
Okay. Now, are there more lost themes like Winter Delivery that we could possibly see on future CDs?
No, we didn't waste anything. We used them, you know, if we'd written something, we'd see it through. Winter Delivery was really a one-off. It was just lying around doing nothing. So, but there aren't any others. That's the answer to the question.
Okay. Now, with these recreation CDs for Thomas, have you thought about possibly creating a CD for tugs in the future?
One of the things we decided to do when we did tugs was not give the characters individual themes. So it's not the same type of beast really, and you know, we might use a bit of music for a character, but it's not a theme. You know what I'm saying? It's so therefore no, I wouldn't do a CD on tug stuff. It's more incidental music, the whole thing. There aren't really that many themes.
Okay. Now, do you have any plans, if you could, to release these CDs on vinyl?
Well, I mean, I could if I wanted to go to the expense of creating it, but I don't think there's a warrant for it. I don't think there's enough people that interested in vinyl. I know it's having a resurgence, but I hadn't really given it much thought, to tell you the truth. No.
Well, there was a few questions that asked that from different fans. There was about 3 or 4. So if you did it, you got 3 or 4 buyers.
I think I'd need a lot more than that to break even. Anyway, think about it.
All right. Well, do you plan on possibly releasing sheet music or chord sheets for these themes in the future?
Not per se, but I have produced a poster, I like to call it a poster, which I'll be putting up online soon, of the Thomas, not sheet music, because it's an art poster. You'll have to have a look at it when you get it, but that's as close as I'm going to do to doing chord charts or sheet music.
Okay. Now let's shift gears away from the CD and talk about the original production of Thomas and Friends and get kind of your personal take and story on some of the things. So first off, how did you find out about Thomas?
Well, at the time I was managing Ringo's studio, and I had been for quite some time because he was out the country. So I was looking after his studio for him. And when he came back into the country, the studio closed down, obviously, because it was a residential studio where bands would stay. And he didn't want Whitesnake sitting in the same room as him watching TV at night. So, and I don't blame him. So it was closed down, and I stayed on just looking after the studio for him, per se, for his projects. And I heard from him about Thomas the Tank Engine. He was going for a meeting with Brett and David and all the powers that be to see about him doing the narration. And I got the contact deals for Brit, details from Brit, and called her up and said, "Have you sorted the music out yet?" And she said, "No." So I said, "Well, do you mind if I put a few ideas in?" And that was it. We got the gig.
That's amazing. Awesome. So now, before even the series began production, were you even familiar with the Railway series books prior?
I have to admit that I wasn't. I mean, I'd heard of them, but I don't remember ever having them as a kid. And so the quick answer is no, I'm afraid.
All good. So now, what were your expectations when you were joining the Thomas team? Did you predict that this would become as successful as it eventually did, or what were kind of your thoughts going into it?
We didn't think. I don't think anyone thought it was going to be that big. I mean, as big as it was. Even Brit, I don't think it was expected to become such a global success. And I mean, it's great that it was, but I mean, it took us a while. I mean, if you think from 84 Series 1 came out, or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And really, I think it took about 10 years to do about 3 series. They didn't come out that quickly, all to do with finance, and no one would take a punt on it. So, but anyway, thankfully, it became a huge success, and as they say, the rest of it is history.
Very true. Many fans, including myself personally, are not actually very well aware of the general production process for composing music for television. Yeah. Can you kind of just walk us through the process of how it was specifically for Thomas?
Okay, so what would happen is that we would actually get the videos finished, not with sound effects, but visually, and there was a guide narration on it. So we could do the music to it. That's we'd get these little VHSs and put them on, and we would. In the early days, we used to get a brief from Brit and David, but they gave up in the end because they said, "We don't need to tell you what to do. You know what you're going to do." So we just sit down and look at it about 10 times, and then plan out what the music was going to be doing. No specific notes or anything. It was just how this is going to sound, and then we'd start recording, and pretty much that was it.
Okay, so usually filming production had wrapped up, they had a rough edit, they would give it to you. Now, were you guys doing any work prior to that, creating kind of the general themes for specific characters or anything, or did you guys not really get involved until that later part of the production?
It wouldn't be the final wrap before we got it. They would feed us videos as and when they finished them. So we were running at the same time as the filming. Obviously, the filming stopped eventually before we did. But we'd be working on them as they were doing them. And we didn't do any work prior to that because there was no film to do it to. We had to wait for the films. And even before we knew what characters were going to be in it. So in the early days, I remember when we started work with one of the films that had Percy in it, we hadn't got a theme for Percy, so we had to sit down and write one, which we did. And that's the same was for all of them, Bertie the boss, all the rest of them.
Okay, very interesting. So now, can you explain a little bit about how you and Junior worked together? Did you guys collaborate on each of the themes, or did you kind of split up tasks, or how did you pick and choose what you guys did?
We would sometimes work individually from home. The weekend maybe you might sort of have a tinkle on the piano and come up with an idea for a theme. And then we get together in the studio and work through it, and that's exactly how we would do it. Sometimes we did it on the fly. So in other words, we got the video and we kind of said, well, in fact, I think Bertie did one of those. We need Bertie the boss's theme. So we just sat down and worked it out in the studio and then put it to film.
That's amazing. Now, did you and Junior ever actually disagree on a particular theme or music for a scene or something? And then generally, how did you guys resolve those if you had differences on opinion on how things should feel?
Yeah, I think every collaboration has difference of opinion, and apart from anything else, I'm a Scouser and he's Scottish, so I mean that's a bad start for a kickoff. But we kind of work, we discuss it, and you must realise there was a really heavy deadline on these things because we were always shoved to the end. You know what I mean? So when everything's filmed and they're twiddling their thumbs waiting for us to deliver the music, so we always had quite a hefty deadline to finish the work on, and so you couldn't really spend too much time faffing around with I want this and I want that, so let's just get on and do it, and the better idea always won.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about timeline. I know in a previous interview that Rob Galgaliers did with the Ride on Track podcast, he mentioned that it took 26 weeks for them to film 26 episodes. What was kind of the timeline you guys were given once those were filmed and you were given the tapes for you guys to get the music for all 26 episodes produced and finalized?
The first episode of any series that we worked on was always the hardest, just to get back into the groove of it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that would take, I remember Cranky Bugs was the first episode on series 5. Oh dear. You know everything about this stuff, don't you, Jason? Anyway, yeah, series 5 then. I know that took us a week to do one episode, which was just because it was quite a difficult episode, and it was just difficult to do. We just weren't used to working again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But once we got up and running and we had momentum going, we would try and do 2.5, 3 episodes a week. That was what we were trying to do. And we'd work 6-7 days a week if we needed to. We needed to keep that pace up to be able to finish within the timeline.
So was the general timeline roughly 10 to 13 weeks, or what were you guys usually given?
There was no...
was it deadline per episode or per season to wrap up all of them?
It was per season, so we decided that would be the best way of doing it. If we can do, say, 13 weeks, that would give us 26 episodes, wouldn't it? That's 2 a week, isn't it? And sometimes we deliver a bit early. We'd have a couple of days off, which is always nice. But that was kind of basically the timeline for it.
Was there ever any incidences where you guys were going through the season, getting stuff done later, and you were like, you know what, there's something in the earlier part of the season that we already finished that you just weren't quite happy with and you wanted to go back and maybe update or change something? Or was it just such a fast production that you didn't really get the chance to do that kind of stuff?
It was such a fast production, Jason. We just had to get through it, and we were our own worst critics, really. We knew if something wasn't right, we'd do it again, but not at the end of the season. Go back and do something again in episode 2. We'd work on episode 2 until we were happy with it, and David and Britt trusted us, and which was great, and so we knew what we were giving was the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of discussed with the process for Percy's theme and Birdie's theme, but in general, what was kind of the process to create the themes for specific characters with their tone and style? Were you guys given any material from Britt and David on here's the characters, here's what they look like and their personalities for you to then create the themes? Or was it when you guys had the tapes making it for the episode, that's when you guys created the theme? Like take James or Gordon, for example.
Yeah, I think they were done, when we saw the video, we thought, something like this would be good for James, and we'd work through it. And as I said before, either that way, or sometimes you'd have an idea at home, put it down on tape, and then bring it in and say, listen, I think this would work for James. And we'd work through it. I can't remember specifically how we did that with James, but that's pretty much how it worked.
Okay. Makes sense. Now we got a lot of questions about this one in particular. Many people are wanting to know, did you compose music for the original pilot episode that happened before the season 1 was filmed altogether? It's the episode's down the pilot. It was later included in the actual season 1, but there was the pilot that was filmed and produced originally. Were you a part of that production at all?
I don't remember putting music on for the pilot. I think the pilot was soundless, if you like. Maybe it had a guide narration on it, I don't know, but we didn't have any part in that. And I remember Down the Mine being in series 1. I think it was just to raise finance and make sure everyone was happy the way it was going. So we weren't really included in that.
Okay. So that one was one that fans asked a lot, because that's been kind of a mystery in the fandom. People are dying to know every little bit of information about that and see what they can find. So I'm sure you'll get pestered on Twitter with questions over time too regarding this.
I look forward to that, Jason. The only thing is, I mean, some people might have put their own little bit of music on the top of it or something. I don't remember ever seeing the pilot. We just cracked on with series 1.
Yeah, makes sense. So was Thomas and Gordon then? That was the very first episode you guys produced music for, episode 1 of season 1. You didn't start somewhere in the middle of the season or anything?
Ooh, that's a good. I don't think we did. I think we started at episode 1. Thomas has 6 wheels and a stumpy funnel and all the rest of it. I think that was the dialogue. No, we just started work on series 1. We definitely didn't have time to mess around with it prior to us seeing the video.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so in the early days of production, did you ever get the chance to work with or meet the Reverend W. Awdry?
The only time we met the Reverend was on that photo shoot that keeps popping up when we're all stood around the models. Apart from that, no, never met him. Well, no, we did meet him then, but never met him again. And we never spoke about the production with him at all.
Oh, okay, so you never got to hear his opinions or thoughts on the themes for his characters or anything?
No, only through Brit. Brit would say that he wasn't happy with, and it was always to do with trains, the way that, nothing to do with the music. It was all to do with visually, well, that train wouldn't do that, because he was a really knowledgeable guy about trains. So she had a few problems there, but nothing that wasn't fixable. Okay.
So there was nothing, he didn't have specific feedback or anything on your guys' stuff. Your stuff was great.
Oh, well, I hope he could say that, but I don't know if he liked it or not. I assume he did, because he didn't, well, I never heard anything else from Brit about music.
Makes sense. Okay. Now, were you and Junior also responsible, on top of the music, but for creating the whistles for each character on the show? Was that something you guys did?
I believe it was. I think they tried to, the sound guy tried to use real engine whistles, but they were just too big. They were massive sounding things. And I can't remember if we were asked or we offered it, but we had that little Jupiter 6 at the time, which was great for knocking out these whistle sounds using their flute sound. So you'd have, a cluster of notes, 2 or 3, and we passed those on to, was it Mike Dixon who did the first sound editing on that? I can't remember.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Really? You don't?
I don't.
Jason.
I'm not a true Thomas fan, I guess.
Anyway, that's what I think happened. We did it, and they were really happy with it. It worked really well, because it was a toy sound, but it's kind of worked. So
yeah.
So we were involved in all that. Yes.
For each season, when new characters were introduced, you guys got to then pick or choose what their whistle was going to be.
No, we do. We would record numerous types of whistle sounds, and then pass them on to the sound guy, who would then say, "Well, we gave him permission to use any they wanted." So, and you can mess around with it, slow them down, speed them up, and all the rest of it. So that's that's what we did.
That's very interesting. Okay.
About sounds, if I may interject, I thought of this the other day when we were working at Startling Studios, Ringo's place, and working on the first 2 seasons we did there. I think we used to go to a pub down the road called the Nag's Head. It's completely changed now, but we borrowed you might not know this, Jason, but in England the landlord rings the bell for last orders, and then you order another beer, but then that's it. So we got a great bell for Toby. So we borrowed the bell from the pub and recorded it. We had to get it back the next day because it's the only bell they had. I wish I'd kept that actually, because it's closed down now, sadly. But,
that's amazing.
So the bell, Toby's bell, was actually a last orders bell from a pub called the Nag's Head in Sunningdale.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that story. As we're going through this, if you have any other stories like that, please interject, and this is what the fans want to hear. Okay. So that is awesome. Another question that we had was, did you and Junior compose the little jingle for the Britt Allcroft Company logo that would appear before each VHS tape?
No, we never did, and that came later on in the history, didn't it? When did that arrive?
At least during my lifetime, all the VHS tapes that I've owned had it. So I don't know earlier than that, and I was born in '96, so.
96. No. Anyway, the answer is no. That just arrived one day on a film, beginning of a film, and no, we were never asked to do it. So.
Okay. Now, you kind of talked about this before, but here's the question. During production, were there ever themes or cues that were rejected by David or Britt, and you guys had to go back and recreate or adjust?
I don't really recall any. I'm sure there was, because sometimes, ideas get changed as they go along. But, we'd fix them, before, there was nothing major, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of yes and no answer, really.
Okay, makes sense. Now, how was the setup after seasons 1 and 2? How was the setup at Shepperton Studios? Did you get to watch the filming process take place at all?
Again, I mean, David was under a lot of pressure time-wise to get things done. He did do some entertain some school children who wanted to see it. So. But when you're doing that, you can't really work on the show. It all stops for these kids to walk. But that was all part of the gig. We went in maybe a couple of times throughout the whole thing and just dropped by and had a look and said hello, but we never interrupted the process, per se.
Okay. Now, in your personal opinion, do you feel that there was a particular season that you feel you and Junior were at your best?
That's a tricky question. I mean, when we first started it, we were a bit naive. It's the first time we'd ever done anything to picture. And so we were learning as we were going along. And as time progressed, new instruments would come on the market, which we try out. The orchestral sounds got a lot better. So we just kind of progressed with the show. I mean, I think we could have gone on to do bigger and better things, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So, I mean, I thought season 7 ended up a bit more like Tom and Jerry stuff, personally. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're trying to keep everyone interested. So, David used to do some quite innovative filming and stuff, and story-wise as well, it changed a lot. So we kind of progressed together, if you like.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any time where we peaked.
Okay, makes sense. Do you remember what albums/artists you were listening to, that you and Junior were listening to when you started composing for the show? Were there particular artists or themes that most influenced creation of certain character themes?
Not really. I mean, it was like, obviously you've all heard the story about me, Mr. Mustard, the Beatles thing. It's not based on that. It's just based on the feel of it more than anything else. That's the Thomas theme.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Apart from that, no. I mean, we used to steal classical lines for various characters. Edward's theme, things like that. Or James's original theme was based on some classical piece of music.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which. It's just a feel, you know. It's not like it's right. We're going to steal this bit of Mozart for James. We didn't do it like that. You know, it was all in the back of our brains. This music, so it's and it's picked up from all kinds of places. Every musician and composer will tell you that. Everyone steals stuff from everyone else. It's part of the DNA of writing music.
Okay. This next question, kind of similar to the question about the pilot. Many fans are asking, was there any music composed for the lost season 2 episode called The Missing Coach?
I looked at this question and I don't remember a thing called The Missing Coach. I have no recollection of that episode whatsoever. So whether we ever did get the music, did get the films working or not, I really can't remember. But if we'd have got to the stage where we were writing music for it, then it would have come out.
Okay. Makes sense. Many fans have speculated that it was canceled in the middle of filming because there are stills and pictures of the actual episode going on, but it clearly never turned into a final production. So very interesting.
We wouldn't have known that. So that's what I mean. So if David and Britt decided this isn't working, let's dump it, then we would never have got to see it.
Makes sense. Okay, next question. Seasons 3 and 4 seem to have taken everything in quality to an entirely new level, including the compositions in those seasons. What changed on your guys' end? Did you have new technology, a bigger budget, more time to work on it?
Yeah, we never had more time to work on anything. It was always a real strict deadline we were working to. New technology definitely made a big difference in seasons 3 and 4. I think they introduced that Proteus 2000 sampler, and there was all kinds of stuff. We weren't using the Jupiter 6 anymore. We discovered Proteus 2 XRs and things. Great machinery came out then, and we took advantage of it. And we also pretty much dumped a Lin drum by that point as well. I can't remember exactly, but I think we did. It was so cumbersome, and it was, you know, in those days we were just getting involved in MIDI stuff really. So it was a different world from Series 1.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, this question's interesting. Season 3 seemed to have been filmed in entirely 2 separate sections. The first 16 episodes were filmed in one group, and then the last 10 episodes were filmed on another because they're on completely different locations and sets. So one question that a fan had was, when you guys were composing the music, was it in 2 separate sections? Did they release the first 16 episodes separate from the second section? Or were you just composing for all of them together at one time?
I think we were just composing for all of them. It was never split into 2 sections like that. There was one that what's just popped into my brain now. There was one season where they thought they were only going to do 13 episodes. Maybe that's what people are thinking of. But then they decided to carry on and do all 26. So,
okay.
Well, no, don't quote me on it. Well, I just quoted myself on it, but I'm not sure if it's 100% right. So
well, that would actually align and make sense with the speculation and rumors. Many people think that there might have been the first 16 episodes were used to get the budget for the last 10 and whatnot. So, because there's clearly a filming difference between the two. So, very interesting.
What when you say a filming difference, what do you mean?
So all of the sets that are used on the first 16 episodes, there's generally overlap between them. You can see that they were filmed at the same time. The last 10 don't take place on any of the same sets from the first 16 episodes. They have entirely new locations. They were filmed obviously at a separate time.
This wouldn't be like the narrow gauge theme time, would it?
No, this would have been right before then, the season before the narrow gauge.
No, I don't remember. I do remember they were having some budget problems and they decided maybe they would just do 13 episodes or whatever it was. But anyway, eventually they just went through the whole thing. So we weren't involved in discussions about money at all.
Okay, very interesting. All right, next question. Are there any particular funny memories or stories that you remember during production that you wouldn't mind sharing?
During production, I cannot tell you how, not difficult, but how time consuming it was to do this stuff. And you really didn't have much time for fun and games or joking around. It really was like treated like a job. You know, we used to go in at 10 in the morning and come home at 6 in the evening, or carry on until we got enough of the episode done to keep to our schedule. And so really, I mean, we used to have laughs, obviously. You know, David was such a funny guy, you know, and we'd meet up with him for a drink in the bar sometimes at Shepperton. But you know, we had to crack on with the work. It was a job. We treated it like a job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've gone through quite a bit of questions here, and there are many more that fans have submitted. We'll save those for the next time. So when the next CD comes out, we will do another Q&A, and we will continue on through our list. So thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions. This was really fun. There was a lot of interesting things. I'm excited that now we know the origin of Toby's bell. So thank you so much, Mike, for coming on here and being willing to be interviewed. And we're so grateful to have you in the fandom and for all the work you're doing, and the fact that we get to interact with you, ask questions like this, and be able to have the recreated themes. It's pretty amazing. So we really appreciate you.
It's great to be part of the fandom. I'm really enjoying myself. It's nice to get all the comments on Twitter and YouTube and all the rest of it. So, you know, keep them all coming. Let's keep it alive, guys. Otherwise, it will disappear.
Well, I'm sure we'll keep that up. So, well, thank you so much, Mike, and we will do this next time.
Okay, Jason and fans, see you later next time.